Feliz Año Nuevo from New Mexico. Think it better than I can say it. Hey, Jen, thanks for coordinating this. Is there anything you need us to be mindful of before we get up there?
Great question. Actually, well, one, thanks for doing this in the first place. So just a little fun fact, something new you might want to keep in mind as you're talking. We are starting to stream these on YouTube. So this is not just for an internal audience, it's also going to be external, and we share that on our public Facebook page as well. So just keep that in mind as we're talking about maybe some internal things, maybe what you don't want other people to know who aren't part of EXP yet.
Does Hank know that?
He does. Yep. Yep, he does.
That'll make it interesting.
Yeah, so we actually started when Hank started moderating. That's kind of when we started to put these back on YouTube. We used to have them on YouTube a while back, but we kind of rethought that once we were in workplace. So, but we've decided since to open it back up because we're always agile and trying new things and maybe seeing if some old things work too. So. Yeah, and
Sounds
I'll share
good.
the link. Yeah, and I'll share the link too once we're live. Because as we're chatting in here, we're testing the audio in the live stream. So once that's actually live, I'll have a link that I can share with you guys in the chat. So you can share that with your network or on your business pages for some of the panelists and participants. Okay, so I'm just testing the audio one more time for stream, and you get to hear my dog help. Awesome. Okay, so we are starting to stream on Workplace right now, or on YouTube. So there's the link for that. And I'm also going to share that in Workplace and on our public Facebook page. So feel free to interact on there as well.
Welcome, everybody. Is Cheryl Shar and Jeff in the house?
Hey, Hank, we're here.
Hey, Hank.
Fantastic. Are you guys up on stage? Did I miss that?
No, coming.
Come on up. You're the next contestant on the Icon. Have you guys seen that show about the Family Feud and the guy who beat the system? Anyways, unimportant. It was on a Delta flight that I took, and I found it very interesting when you know your numbers, how much more successful you can be. So why don't we start? We're getting a little bit of echo, so I will turn my gain down and get that dialed in. And so we're going to be jumping in about 6 seconds here. Okay. All right. Welcome, Cheryl, Jeff, and Shar. Thank you for being part of the Icon conversation. Now, it's interesting. I had Mr. Keith Bliss, as many of you guys know, give me a little bit different perspective on the Icon conversations, and I kind of liked it. It's a conversation between the four of us that we get to have 116 other people listen in on. I will be moderating the questions. And this conversation is kind of like we're sitting around the dining room table. So it's not going to be an ego conversation. We're going to be talking about what's really going on, what's working for us, what do we need to change in 2019. It's going to be one of those conversations where we're transparent and real. And Cheryl, Shar, and Jeff, are you guys okay with the direction of how I framed the conversation for today?
Absolutely.
Perfect.
Great way to start the new year. Let's do it.
Perfect. So Jeff, since you were the one to jump in right there, 2019, if we fast forward 12 months from now, what is it that we're going to be talking about that you're celebrating? Meaning, what was it that you accomplished that was different or that you're focused on that you can give us some framework around?
My New Year's resolution, Hank, is to reflect every day in 2019, so I will have a clear vision in 2020.
Okay, I'm gonna ask some questions around that because I don't want to make assumptions on it. When you say reflect, walk me through what that means to you, because it's interesting. I haven't heard an answer like that, so give me a little bit deeper on that.
So I'll say it again, and I'll see if everyone hears me. If I reflect every day in 2019, I will be ready to have clear vision in 2020.
Okay. Cheryl, jump in there because you got it. Maybe I didn't get it at the level that you are.
Oh, he's got the 2020 vision right around the corner.
Oh my gosh, Jeff, you are such a dad joke guy, and that is freaking funny. And yet something tells.
So let me tell you what the reflect part means, though. As it relates to, you say knowing your numbers.
Yep.
So, you challenge people to know their numbers, but there's daily reflection, weekly reflection, yearly reflection. And so I do think that is in a sense that's a joke, but in another sense, if you are taking the time to know where you're at, you're probably going to get where you're going.
I couldn't agree more. And Elizabeth Raines, one of my friends from the old company, said this: is this next decision bringing me closer to who I want to be or further away? If we know the numbers that we're shooting for, we know the little decisions that we're making that are moving them towards us. So if we're looking at your numbers, Jeff, give me a number that you're focused on for 2019 as far as the scoreboard goes.
So one of the things that the Icon opportunity has done for me and my business is it's caused me to kind of major on the major and minor on the minor. And so unfortunately, I missed Icon opportunity before I achieved it because I wasn't aware of some of those things. I was just doing what I always did. And now that we're able to have the opportunity with Icon, what I'm realizing is can I cap 2 months sooner than I have the previous year? And can I Icon 2 months sooner than the previous year? And if I do that, what does that do for my family and my team? And then what are the 5-star decisions that I need to make every day? And am I delegating the 2-star, 3-star to other team members so that reality will happen, and it can happen faster than it did the year before?
Perfect. What I hear is a lot of intentionality around that. And guys, everybody write this down. I like the term "do the math" because when we do the math around something, it really gives us clarity on the actions that need to be taken. So, Shar, I don't know that you and I have ever had the chance to have a conversation, have we?
No, we never have. I've seen your name around and I've wanted to meet you, so it, I'm happy to meet you.
Well, the pleasure's all mine. So if there was one thing that Hank should know about Shar that would make me remember you forever, what's the one thing that I should know about you, Shar?
Oh my gosh, that's a tough question. That I'm driven to succeed. I have business plans, I have goals, and what is so cool is that everyone here and everyone on the stage, January 1st, we are all equal. We have started at zero. And so our difference is what is our goals? What is our intentions, business plan, and do we have the systems in place to reach our goal? So when you asked the question before, 1 year from today, I hope to be celebrating. I know I'm going to be celebrating, not hope. I know I'm going to be celebrating that I have reached my goals. I have exceeded them.
And so, Shar, can you give us an example of one of the goals that you are striving for?
Okay. I want to build the team back up. I was a broker here in Kansas for a year and a half, and my business dropped down because I was focusing on the broker stuff. And so now I'm rebuilding. So my goal is to get back to my 150 transactions a year and to have 2 more team members on my team to have fun doing it.
You know what, Shar, you triggered a few things on me with what you just said there, guys. And if you're listening to this, will you guys do me a favor? I believe that the role in our company that we need to appreciate more and make sure that we're supporting in the highest level is the broker role. Meaning it's one of those roles that people are making huge sacrifices for helping us do what we need to do. Shar, would you say that it's accurate that if all of us helped pick up the load a little bit for the brokers, it would be multiplication for our company?
Oh, absolutely. Our broker, Whitney, who's taken over for me, he's got 2 states. And if you get your contracts in on time, you get your documents correct, that helps them a lot because they're just in the weeds so much in the trees that they can't go out and help build.
Well, and you know, I had the honor of being one of 20 people meeting with Glenn right before Christmas break, and one of our values is sustainability. And if our brokers have to play babysitter, it doesn't make our company sustainable, nor does it make it a role that brokers want to stay in with what they're charged with. So, guys, do me a favor. If I'm looking at 2019, and the one request that I would have is ask yourself, what can I do today that just makes my brokers life a little bit easier? Because I do look at that as one of our vulnerabilities if we aren't all conscious of our part of making sure that it's sustainable. So Shar, can I ask maybe a little bit tougher question?
Sure.
So what does 150 transactions do for you in that 100 transactions doesn't?
Money.
Okay.
I make more money,
Well,
but I also, it's a personal goal. I have achieved a goal. Before I became broker, I was averaging 150 to 200 transactions a year, and I do it with a team. It's a team support. It's like when you go to the doctor, he's not greeting you at the reception desk. He's not taking care and drawing your blood. He's there to be the expert, and that's to help you make a good decision to buy and sell. And that's what I have, a team support around me. I have a specialist, their own personal shopper and a buyer's agent. I have listing agents. I used to do all the listings, but in Kansas, we have a little issue with brokers and listings. So I had to make a correction on my business. But it's all about giving the best service you can to your clients and making raving fans out of them after the transactions. Um, if, for example, I've sold probably over 5,000 families in Kansas City in my career. Now, I hate to tell you, my career is 40 years now, but it's been a pleasure with these families. I just had somebody tell me on my team that she can't believe how awesome my clients are, how wonderful they are. And I said, that's because I treated them that way. And so you have to pay attention to your clients.
Shar, you're talking my language because I'm all about the relationship and that life. And when we look at 150 transactions, and I also loved that you were okay with saying, hey, it's about the money. And I'll be 100% transparent with everybody here. I go to work to get paid. Now, I choose work that allows me to feel significant, that allows me to help people. I tell my family when I'm not with them, I'm going to go to work, which means that 90% of the time I get paid for what I do. Now, Shar, when we look at the net, here's what I'm going to challenge you to do. Would you agree with EXP? It's given us an unfair advantage where we can help people outgrow us.
Absolutely.
And someone has a hot mic, and I'm not sure if we have a.
It's
Whoever
Martha.
has.
Your call may be
Martha.
monitored or recorded for quality assurance.
Hey, Martha, and I don't want to single you out.
Emergency, press 1.
Can anybody have Martha? Okay, thank you. Hey guys, here's what I'm going to ask that we do. There's 137 people in here when one person isn't mindful, and I don't think that it was intentional. It really disrupts the dollar per hour. If all of us are worth $100 an hour, that just cost us thousands of dollars. So, Char, we're going to go right back to you, and then Cheryl, we're going to jump to you. I always like to challenge people's thinking, and so if it's about the money, so much of our industry is so much about the gross. My hallucination is that you have a net number when you're putting that number out there at 150 units. Do you have a net number associated with that, Shar?
I do. And I usually do it on a percent. When I'm building my budget and everything for what I'm going to do here this year, I do 35% as expenses. And then
Okay.
the rest, the 65% I want to keep in my pocket. However, in real estate, we love to spend money. I'm a really good customer for any salesman who wants to call me and say, this is the latest magic pill, and I'll go with it. Hey, yeah, I want to be the first one. But the cutting edge is sometimes the bleeding edge. And what EXP has done for me is they've eliminated that bleeding edge. They've given us so many tools that I was paying thousands of dollars a month for. They're giving it to us for free. We got so many tools to expand and build our business that we need to take opportunities of that. But you can't unless you understand and recognize what your goals and needs.
So, Shar, back to the question, and this is where I might get fired from doing these conversations. What is the net number that you intend to walk away with? And when I talk net number, we're talking adjusted gross income. So I run mine through an S corp. I got my income for business, and then I have my income off of the salary that I draw. What is the net income that Shar is looking to hit on that?
You notice I ignored that because this is a public. It's going to be on YouTube. So
that's fair.
Can I
and
respect?
I can honor that because the reality is we're having a conversation around a kitchen table, and that's a number that I think we would discuss. And we also need to appreciate the fact that it's not that. So
Yeah, the kitchen table is mic'd.
Yep. And you know what? I don't back down much from questions yet. Based on that, I will completely honor that.
Yeah.
And maybe we can have a conversation offline around that. Do you see where I'm going with the thought process on that, though?
Yes, I do.
Perfect. And Shar, thank you for bringing awareness around that. And guys, I was having a conversation with my sister over Christmas break, and I'd like to ask this question to everyone on a without necessarily a rhetorical question. Do I need to be right? Now, in my 40s, what I realized is I no longer need to be right, yet I want to know when I'm wrong. And what I love about what Shar just did right there was she brought something to my attention where I was okay with being wrong, that we aren't necessarily just around the kitchen table. we are broadcasting this out to all of YouTube. So Shar, thank you for bringing that to my attention.
My pleasure. To answer your question is, no, we don't always have to be right. You said sometimes being right is a failure because you're not interpreting other people's needs and other people's opinions. You have to respect, and not getting political, but we're seeing that in Washington. Nobody's respecting other people's opinions. You have to look at what is respecting their opinion. You might not agree, but it's okay to not be right all the time.
Well, and when I look at the growth of the people that I run with, and when they have the ability to not be right, they seem to be a lot happier. And I love what you said was, and I'm changing it a little bit, is the ability to agree to disagree is probably one of the most powerful happiness tools that's out there.
Absolutely.
So Cheryl, I saved you for last. And obviously we're going to come back to Jeff and Shar. Cheryl was the first person that I attracted over to EXP. In fact, I wouldn't even say that it was attracted. Cheryl and I were in a relationship, and she said, Hank, I'm coming over, and I get that you're frustrated with EXP, yet I'm going to make it work. Cheryl, would you say that's fair?
Yeah, fair enough.
And Cheryl, you came out like gangbusters. How long did it take for you to cap when you first came over?
I think I capped in 2 months.
In 2 months. And one of the things that I love about you is your ability to be reasonable and flexible, because when you cap that quickly, you broke the system and you got way more involved with accounting than you and I would ever like to remember. Now, what I love about this, Cheryl, is you do a masterful job giving the five or six different ways that you can acquire the stock?
We talked about 5 different ways to acquire stock, yes.
So, Cheryl, you know that I'm famous for making you uncomfortable and your palms sweat a little bit. At some point during this call, I would prefer right now, would you walk us through how you do that explanation of it?
Yeah, I'd be happy to do that. I was prepared to talk more about how I built my investor business, but whatever you think is most helpful for everybody here.
Well, Cheryl, when you did that for me, I was like, oh my gosh, you just simplified it. And my big word for 2019 is simple. I want to keep things simple because I think oftentimes we overcomplicate things. And your explanation on it made it very simple. So could you do that in, a 2 or 3 minute breakdown of it, or how much time would you need to do that effectively?
Yeah, maybe Hank, we should reserve that for another time because I understand that we've got some changes that I have not quite reviewed. So I certainly
Okay.
don't want to misquote, if that's okay. Can
So
you hear me better? Is
Yeah.
that better, Al?
Cheryl, what I'm going to ask is, will you make a commitment to do a video with me that we can do together once the changes are reviewed? Because you do an awesome job with that. Does that sound fair?
Yeah, I'd love to. Thanks, Hank. Appreciate it.
So let's talk investor business.
Okay.
You have knocked it out of the park when it comes to investor business. So can you tell us, because your investor business is a little bit different than what someone might see as an investor business. So give us a CNN version of that.
Well, certainly, but everybody can dig into the investor business. We've got all kinds of investors, and I'd like to circle back to Shar too. Out of those 150 transactions, where did most of them come from? Are you listing or are you buying? And we can do that in a while. But I think most of us are trained to prospect for people, right? We make our calls. We're looking for buyers. We're looking for sellers. And given my background in real estate, I have somehow conditioned my brain to look for those deals because when it comes to the investor business, it's not the cash flow is not the problem. There are buyers everywhere. There are investors salivating on the sideline for good deals. It's finding the good deals. So when you come across that good deal, you market it. Use our KV Core tool use that code generator and market, be the gatekeeper of good deals. And I really think that that's how I got a grasp. And of course, being a property appraiser certainly legitimizes that, but any realtor can approach business from that way.
Do you want me to answer your question?
I would love to know, Shar.
Okay.
I would love to know.
Out of the 150 transactions that I did, there was 50-50 buyers and sellers, and I learned to adjust to what the market is. So when doing the 150, there were no investors in that. They were all traditional home buyers, home sellers. However, when the market changed in '09, I adjusted, and so then I increased my numbers of investors because the market was open to investors. Now it's closing a little bit for the deals, like you said.
And what market? You're in Kansas? Char?
Correct.
Okay.
Kansas City.
What I find really, really interesting is that when you've been in the business a while, you get really adept at market trends, right? So in markets like Tampa and Arizona, those hot markets that we'd see price points driven up fairly quickly, we're now seeing the investors selling out of those markets and looking towards markets that are more steady Eddie, the Oklahoma market, the Midwestern solid market. So it's really interesting that how we find ourselves working on a national cloud-based brokerage, and I'm hoping at some point we can help one another in leveraging one another in trading those markets. It's really a cool dynamic, cool opportunity that we have.
Absolutely. And you know what? You talked about this national market. I had just put down in my comments from the meeting prior that we should have some national statistics to help us when we go at these kitchen tables or when we meet at the people and talk to them.
Well, and too, there's all kinds of investors, right? You've got the fix and flips, you've got the buy and hold, and I did a few fix and flips, but my specialty is really to find those properties that are long-term investment, the buy and hold. It's just a simple equation, right?
Right.
To find those cash flow properties, and I think it's tough for a real estate agent to just look at an MLS sheet and then, well, how the heck do I know if this is a good deal for somebody or not? And back in the downturn, the bottom of our market was January of 2012. And basically, when I was managing a small office, and just to look at the price, for example, if you see a list price of 100,000, and you know that it will rent for 1,000, so generally speaking, you can just tag that as a 10% cap. 10% cap was awesome, but that's what we were seeing at the bottom of the market. That's when the investors started coming out in droves, really, and driving up the prices. But that's a good way to really just do a once over, because you can't really thoroughly analyze multiple properties. It doesn't make sense with time, right?
Yeah. Once you get good at the market, like you said, you knew what it would do and what it would take. I actually had a form created that let me do that analysis. It's kind of like a little calculator that told them what the return on investment was if they were flipping, what the return on monthly cash flow would be. So that helped me to analyze.
I'm gonna jump in here real quick. Here's what I'm hearing. You better know your markets right now. Things are getting back to a normal market. And Cheryl, when I hear you talking about national stats, when I hear Cheryl talking about where we're going and how things have moved around, are you guys studying your local numbers and where things are changing? And talk to me about a daily or weekly routine that you guys do to make sure that you are on top of it and the expert. Who would like to handle that question?
I can answer that. Yeah, I do it daily. Every day I'm in the first thing in the morning, I go into the MLS, look at what's new, what's happening, what's sold, and seeing what's closed, what the percentage was versus what it was listed for and what it's sold for, and doing the numbers that way.
Shar, when I was actively buying and selling every single day, I watched everything that happened on the MLS. And what I found was in the morning, it took me 15 to 30 minutes. And then every chance that I got, I ran my hot sheet so that it wasn't overwhelming, and it kept me so in tune with what's going on. How much time are you finding in your market it's taking you to do? And do you have a hot sheet for specific criteria?
I do. I actually have searches set up that sends me, like if I have an investor looking for something, it sends it to me instantly, so I'll know. But in the morning, it's about 15 minutes. It doesn't take long to run the hot sheets. And I know my area. I know the subdivisions. I know if the subdivision is average prices here and this one's listed way below, I know that's a good deal.
Okay, and guys, I don't think right now with us going much more into a normal market, skill set's going to matter. Meaning we've got to make sure that we are really upping our skill set right now and really having the knowledge. Hey, Jeff, you still with us?
Absolutely.
Jeff, something tells me you've been sitting on your hands. What's going through your mind during this conversation?
Well, I think 2 points. I think what makes the New Mexico market a little different right now than the rest of the country is we have a lot of jobs coming in. So one of the things that we're starting to take note of is just the jobs that are being created, when those folks are scheduled to arrive, and then taking Cheryl's point of, what deals are out there and what neighborhoods are probably going to sell out first, and are we poised to make sure that we're representing buyers? Are we getting there first? And if we have the opportunity to get those listings, are we doing what we can to get in front of the market?
It's interesting. So I'm a hockey player, and I play in an over 30 league, and there's so many different strategies, right? And what I realized is sometimes offense can be the best defense. And Jeff, what I'm hearing is you're going on the offensive to make sure that that's the defense on the changes, right?
To Cheryl's point, with investors, I work with investors also, and one of the things that helps me is I have a source of a lot of investors that if I have a seller that really needs an offer on a home, I'm able to let those sellers know that I can bring them an offer. It may not be an offer they can say yes to, but I do have investors that can buy those properties if somebody really needs to sell. And I think that also is a big point when you're up against another realtor and you have someone that can buy that property. That puts you in a whole nother category as well. And also with some of the investor groups that you belong to, I belong to a group called the National Council of Exchangers that do 1031s across the country. And there are guys in those groups that will make an offer on any property, anytime, anywhere. And having those kind of alliances, I think, take you to the next level, especially when you're up against another realtor.
Well, and Jeff, something jumped out at me question-wise was you guys have such experience with investors, and myself, I've been an investor who's also gone bankrupt. That was an interesting time in my life. What do you know about investors now that you wish you would have known when you started, or maybe you had your head in the sand about?
Well, Cheryl made the comment earlier. It's true that a lot of them they're poised, and a lot of them have the ability to buy more than one property at one time. So I think, I don't think I really want to think about how much money I've lost by not having more inventory, so that my investor that bought one property from me could have bought 2, 3, 4, 5, and he knew someone like himself that could have done the same thing and tap in to his sphere of influence. So I think the key is really not just focusing on what you're focused on and getting that one property sold or finding your buyer a property, but capitalizing on those spheres of influences and the inventory and the shadow inventory that isn't even listed that you could turn into active inventory.
Jeff, what I love about that answer is someone asked the question, simply tell what simple means. And oftentimes there's so many things that we can do, and we oftentimes just add more transactions or add more specialties, where if we actually subtracted, and Jeff, you were the person that, hey, I'm not going to work with you unless you're doing 10 transactions in a year. And everybody knew that you were the guy that could get that done. Sometimes what happens is subtraction is multiplication. where what I see most people doing is they just try to add more. So they spread themselves even more thin and they become less of an expert. What comes to mind when I say subtraction leads to multiplication? And this is for any of the three on the panel.
Hey, that's a tough question for me. You know it is, because you know that I like to help a lot of people. And zooming out, my business was volume business since 2012. I've been working for some of the larger REITs funds that buy in volume. So I had been so busy on this hamster wheel of production, and they've gone on hiatus in the winter, which gives me some time to breathe. And what I love so much about EXP is that it allows me to help other people. As you mentioned just a few minutes ago, that it incentivizes us to have the people that we bring under us be better than us. So I love the fact that I'm able to help them in their production and actually share deals with them. And so I can incorporate that you mentioned significance. You enjoy helping people because you like that feeling of significance. I'm not motivated by money so much as it is in helping other people. So I'm subtracting some transactions as I rebuild my business, and it's not in the form of a team that we know in the MREA book, but because we can pour into our rev share. I just love that dynamic so much about EXP.
Well, and I love what you said there. I would really like everybody to challenge your thinking on a team, because I arguably have a team of 381 people within my rev share. There's no way when I looked at building my own brokerage model that I could have accomplished that in this amount of time. And how are we supporting our team? Because my goal is to help every individual outgrow me. And so here's a question that I have for the panel is, what are you doing to help your people around you outgrow you this year?
I can go ahead, Shar.
I did click on because I'm sitting here contemplating your question. One thing that it's just been a ha-ha moment for me this year is that I have two teams, and one of them I focused on and one I have not. And the one I have not has been the Rev Share growth team. And then I realized that you've got to have systems in place for that too. You've got to support them and create a team atmosphere within that thing. So I have a real estate sales one and a rev share one, and I have failed at the rev share one.
Well, Shar, what I love about this in the book Power versus Force, he talks about awareness is transformational in and of itself. And just like if I said, someone told me that I had stinky breath, I don't need someone to tell me how to fix my breath. I know it now that I have awareness around it. And Shar, what I love about the awareness that you've gotten, now that you're aware of it, I think that you'll be able to definitely correct that.
Absolutely. I've already started developing or borrowing systems. You don't want to spend all your time creating. You can borrow. So I'm in the process now of getting those systems in place from my upline.
Well, and kudos to Glenn. Here's I got when I got to spend the time in Phoenix with Glenn and the 20 other main influencers. What I loved was the overarching theme of all of us looking to support everyone's growth. And it was really neat to see the leaders, the influencers come together where it's one for all. And it was pretty exciting, guys. I don't think I've ever been more excited about where the company is going. Because sometimes you go to meetings like that and it's more of, hey, we're gonna do this to make you feel like you're a part of where it's going. Glenn is a phenomenal leader, and I don't kiss people's butts. I'm not kissing Glenn's butts right now. Is what I'm doing is I'm applauding his activities and his actions, not just his words. So Cheryl, Jeff, Shar, there's something at the tip of your tongue that you would love to just get out there. What is it?
I can speak to the subtract as it relates to identifying your 5-star clients that what I'm realizing is as I work with my 5-star clients and delegate out my 2-star, 3-star, 4-stars, both Cheryl and Shar have talked about delegating to teams. It does two things. One, it allows me to get more for my time working with the clients that are ready to buy or sell. And as I delegate to my brokers, they get an opportunity to have experience that they probably wouldn't have if I would have kept those other clients that are going to be more challenging on my time and on the outcome. And so, speaking of that, I think that is huge. Is the sooner each person identifies who their 5-star clients are, and they refer out or partner with other brokers that aren't ready or have issues or
Hey,
wrong.
Cheryl, mute your mic, will you? And Jeff, I speak a ton to that. So you're speaking to my soul right now. Is guys, when we can raise our standards for our clients, we're going to get them better results. And if somebody doesn't meet our standards, it doesn't mean that another person couldn't serve them. For example, at some point in your career, we went from working with a ton of buyers to working with more listings, and it gave somebody else an opportunity. And here's one thing that I remind myself is every time I subtract something from myself, it gives someone else an opportunity. Here's what I love about the EXP model. When I subtract something, I don't have to necessarily have my hand in the cookie jar of that person's income because of rev share. And I think that's the glorious thing is in the MREA model, so many times when I look at it, there's someone losing in that model. And when we talk about helping people outgrow us, how nice would it be as if we helped every agent go out there and and do what they're able to do and what their capacity is able to do. And I think it's the difference between scarcity and abundance. And I'd like everybody to really look at this quote. Help enough people get what they want, you'll get everything that you want. And be careful with Excel spreadsheets because Excel spreadsheets can screw up businesses. What might not make business sense will make people sense. And the more people I see making great people choices end up having more success. All right, so Cheryl, is your mic hot?
My mic was off.
Okay. So Cheryl, we haven't heard anything from you. What's going through your mind, because there's always brilliance going through there.
Oh, no, I appreciate that. I heard Shar mention that she is rebuilding her business, and I find that interesting because you know me well. You know that I am truly rebuilding my business because of the backing off of the larger REITs funds right now. So I'm having a ball with my RepShare group in learning all of the tools and systems that we have here at EXP. So I'm back in the trenches with them, and if I can get my production back to a level where I icon, and I think given the average sales price in our market, and I challenge everybody to do that, you'll figure out how many transactions that you need to get that icon agent award and reverse engineer it. What do you have to do to get those 3 transactions a month? Because honestly, I don't want to get back on a hamster wheel of production. I love this model that we have here at EXP, that I can do that production to get that award and also help other people in the midst of it.
Well, and someone asked the question, what do we mean by spreadsheets? Is spreadsheets, oftentimes you can do something and it makes sense on a spreadsheet. However, when you put it into action, it doesn't make as much sense. And I don't know. Is it my mic that's hot? Are you guys hearing that feedback?
I think it's Cheryl's.
Cheryl, would you mind muting yours? Okay. Okay, I think the noise is now gone. So when we look at this, guys, we have short-term income and we have long-term income. If we don't know our P&L and we don't know our numbers, and my guess is we have 145 users in here, and probably 120 will not have their taxes done by April 15th. And when I say done, I don't think that they'll have their taxes paid. And that's concerning to me in the real estate business. And I have a saying is we can't out earn stupid. So what I want all of us to do is I want us to, if we know our numbers at a higher level, we can make decisions on short-term income. And when I heard Glenn talking about I think it was Glenn. If you go and list homes or list agents, which one's going to be a higher producing activity? Now, stay with me for a second and come from curiosity and a growth mindset. If everybody did 36 transactions, that's 3 transactions a month. That's sustainable for the average agent. If everybody showed the value of EXP and brought the right people in at the tune of 1 per quarter, that's enough form of a longer term um, income. I do think that we need to be looking at short-term and long-term income and what we're putting into our schedules. What do you guys do when you analyze what you're saying yes to in your schedule and what you're saying no to?
You have to be aware of what is dollar activity, dollar productive activity. So you have to know those numbers. You have to know what brings you the most money. And I agree 100% with you on your statement prior to about the rev share and the difference in sales versus rev share. Um, I I saw Brent Gove's a copy of his rev share in September, and I said to myself, why am I selling dirt? You know, he has built a team of sustainable income, and it was awesome.
Well, what I love about Brent, and Brent and I, it was funny we got to lead a thing at Rebar where we were talking about attraction is guys, we're not saying don't sell real estate. In fact, this company doesn't work if we're not selling real estate. What I'm saying is instead of doing 36 transactions and trying to get to 60, what if you continue to do 36, you raise your average sale price because you're raising your standards on who you choose to work with and who you subtract to give other people opportunity, and you worked on other streams of income like we talked about investors here. You bought some rental property. I would like everybody right now, write down how many different streams of income that you have right now. How many would you like to have? And where are the gaps in those incomes? And what I find is oftentimes it's not doing more transactions that will build you more wealth. It's going to be doing less transactions with a higher standard of referral business where they take less time and you make more money and you help other people get what they want. That's where multiplication starts to come in. And Char, that's why I was pressing a little bit on the 150 transactions. Just because I'm always fascinated on having conversations around it, because oftentimes I can find a simpler way for everybody to win at a higher level within that scenario. And I'm not saying it's the case with you. I'm just always looking at how we can simplify so less people are involved with us getting what we desire. Because how many of you guys are noticing today people are quick to pivot? And this is one of my frustrations in the real estate business. And I'd love anybody that's in the panel to talk to that. We love to pour into people. And sorry for the broad stroke. We love to pour into people. Oftentimes, they don't stick around long enough to see an ROI on the investment that we made pouring into them. What I see in the rev share model is it's given us the opportunity to pour into people and see the return on the investment because we're encouraged to help them outgrow us. What's your thoughts on that statement of seeing an ROI on the people that we're pouring into?
I can tell you your rev share group has a better ROI than a team member. I've been very fortunate that I've had team members 7 years that are in the buying fields, 10 years. But I've had a lot of them that were just 1 year, and it's very painful to go through that process of training and then to have them go off. So better return on rev share.
Well, and Shar, how much more likely are you to support them in that launching if you are still seeing an ROI through the rev share? That's what I love about what we're doing here, guys. And I want this to sink in for everybody. It gives us the opportunity to make great people decisions because the business supports it behind it. Cheryl, you were going to jump in there.
Yeah, I think some of us get caught up the either or. Either we're selling real estate or we're growing our rev share group. And well, I find it very easy to interweave the organic attraction when you're conducting a deal, facilitating a transaction. You simply have a great experience with another agent. So you just organically you do it as you go along, and that seems to be how I am steadily growing my rev share group, but still focusing on the real estate piece of it. I eat, breathe, and sleep real estate, so I think that you don't have to focus on one or the other, that you can have it all, really.
Cheryl, ask me how many hours I spend on EXP and rev share per week.
I think I know. 3 to
How
5.
many?
3
Yep.
to 5.
3 to 5. And here's the thing is it comes down to the simple model of help enough people get what they want, you'll get everything that you want. I don't know how many times I've helped someone get something. I look at somebody who just recently joined EXP, another brokerage at another company. One of her friends was talking about looking for a change. She said to have a conversation with Hank, and it had nothing to do with me out there recruiting. It had everything to do with me helping another broker. I ended up having my second person join EXP because of that. Guys, let's look at what we can do to help people. In the conversation, if it needs to happen, will naturally happen about EXP. And there's two types of people that don't join EXP. One, ego's involved. Two, they don't understand math. And I love that. Explore that conversation of ego and math. So we're gonna finish up here. We've got 6 minutes. We've got 6 minutes left, and I'd like to spend 2 minutes with each of you.
Okay.
There goes my alarm for Ritalin. Oh my gosh, the best thing that's probably ever happened to me.
So there's
Jeff, let's start with you.
138
Hey.
people listening to Icon agents. These are people that's making money. Oh my God.
And your mic is on, Kendra. That's awesome.
I
So,
love it. Hey,
Jeff,
hey, Hank, I just have a quick thought on your rev share.
Yep.
So one of the things too that's hard for us to comprehend is that we are in an industry where 80% of the brokers don't make it their first year in the industry. And the rev share concept, I believe, is going to change that. Being in the business for years to come because of the rev share opportunity, and the person that brought them in is incentivized to make sure they are successful and they continue to be with our company. Secondly, challenge that we all need to think about is how many of us are licensed in more than 3 states? Okay, very few. And yet rev share allows you to benefit as if you're licensed in 10 or 20 or 30 states, not counting international. I'll drop the mic.
Great point. It's a great point. You grow your network nationally, internationally. Where else do we have an opportunity like that?
And then, hey, my coach, and don't grow your rev share line or your real estate business on anything that's not sustainable. And I'd like you to write this question down to ask yourself, what is it that I'm doing that I'm not setting myself up for sustainability? Cheryl, you're one of my directs. Has there ever been a time that you needed me that I wasn't available?
No, absolutely not. You've been great.
Now, it doesn't mean that we chit chat a lot. However, there's something that you need business wise or something that you've needed, whatever wise, we're there. And that's what I love about what we're building here is the availability. And I think we need responsible sponsorship. So Shar, bring us out with your 2 minutes.
One of the things I'm going to take you back to what Glenn had said in the previous meeting is that you need to have your unique selling proposition, both in rev share or team building or working with your clients. You need to be able to explain what you do, why you do it, and why it's important for them to follow you in that process. And the other thought that I had was surrounding yourself with people that are positive. That's been my goal this year, is to start reading more books again, being more positive, and having the attitude that is going to make me a happier person.
You know what? It's one of the things I love about Glenn is having the value of fun. If you aren't having fun, if you're not doing the business that you want to do, check your energy. Most of the people that come to me, if their business isn't where it's at, I can bet you that their energy probably sucks. And so what are you guys doing? Well, can't ask that question. Cheryl, bring us out. Give us your 2 minutes.
Well, you're right about energy. There are too many unexplains in my business, Hank. You've constantly scolded me over the years about my lack of consistency. But one thing that I have done very, very well is I do the right thing for the person in front of me. I have high energy. I maintain a high level of being positive. I eat, breathe, and sleep real estate, and just do the right thing, and everything comes back. And I feel completely aligned with EXP because of the transparency of this company. You just know that our core values are basic human needs and wants. It's incredible that we have this opportunity.
It truly is. And guys, the level of transparency, I've been pretty high up in a couple of different companies, and I've never seen a level of transparency where audio matches video. I don't always like what I hear. However, I'm always getting the real answer. And so John asked a quick question that I like to cover. What's a hot sheet? In most MLS systems, what you can do is you can set up a search so that you can go back and do that search, and it will show you everything that's happened since the last time that you looked at that search. It's a hot sheet. It's basically a quick way of doing things. So guys, we're gonna head out. I have appointments every hour in the hour, and I choose to actually eat lunch today. Thank you, Icons, for investing your time, your energy, your resources, being the stewards of our company. And Shar and Jeff, so nice to get to meet you, and hopefully I will get to meet you guys at the shareholders meeting.
Yeah.
Thank you,
We'll
Nick.
see you in Tampa.
Bye.
All right, thanks guys, appreciate you guys.
Okay, bye.
Char, are you coming to Tampa?
Unfortunately, I can't. I'm going to be down there and with Star Power Stars, and we're leaving the day before.
Oh, terrible timing. Sorry.